What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be working on this 05 YFZ 450 Special Edition. It's got a lot of work done to it. However, it doesn't run that great. It requires choke to start. It pops and spits, doesn't idle right, and it won't go full throttle without having the choke on, so it's very lean. So we're going to be diving in today on how we're going to get it to run right, how we're going to jet the carb, and how we're going to get it running as best as we can. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, so just to give you a rundown of what's going on with the bike. So already it's going to need, besides the carb tuning, it is going to need a new air filter. You can see the air filter is destroyed, so I'm going to go with a uni-foam filter. And then it also has a full FMF. They had some type of heat wrap on here, and looks like it came off, so I'm going to pull that off. I literally just picked it up a little bit ago, so full FMF exhaust. These bikes are already very lean from the factory, so if you don't jet them, you know, and you start doing mods, taking the airbox lid off, all that, it makes them even more lean. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to pull this carburetor off. I want to see what jets are in it and see if we can, you know, just get it to run better by putting bigger jets in it, whether it be a bigger pilot, bigger main jet. So we're going to get that all pulled apart and go from there. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention was that the previous owner told me that he put a 110 race gas in it. So he wasn't the one that built this bike. He didn't do everything to it. But he said he put 110 race gas in it, and I don't know if it requires it or not. I don't know if it's got like a high compression piston or anything. All of this looks fairly clean. It looks like it's an aftermarket head, potentially. Not 100% sure, but what I'm going to do is, because I don't know if it needs 110, I'm just going to drain the 110 out and run 93. So I'm going to do that now, and then once I get that all drained out, then I'll pull the carburetor off, and then we'll go from there and see what jets are. All right, guys, I just wanted to do like a startup video just to show you how it's running and what the symptoms are right now. It's got a lot of goodies on it, though, this bike. As I look at it, it's got the upgraded accelerator pump down there, which is good, you know, so when you stab the throttle, it doesn't bog, but it does right now. It's got the adjustable fuel screw right there, so you can tune the idle a little bit better. It's got a lot of goodies on it, man. Billet carrier bearing. You know, it's got aftermarket Nerf bars, front bumper. It's got a Hauser stem on it, some flex bars, kill tether. I mean, it's set up right, for sure. Beadlock wheels. It's a nice machine, but yeah, it just runs like trash. Let me start it up. I'm gonna do it with no choke so you can see what it's like without the choke. Let's turn this key on. All right, so it starts right up. Idle's okay. As soon as you go to give it gas, it just shuts off. Super lean. It's better with the choke pulled out, but we'll try to get this to start now with the. Now the choke is out. Now you can rev it. But it's still popping, backfiring, just running like shit, so. You know, those are all just signs of it being very, very lean. I'm sure the open air box with the missing air filter is not helping, but either way, I still want to pull that carburetor out and see what jets are exactly in it, because I just got it. I have no idea, and I just want to see where we're starting at. So first couple things, you can pull this whole carburetor, not out, but pretty much out. But you can, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to turn it sideways so I can get to the fuel float bowl, so I can, once I pull that off, I can get to the jets and this whole carb can stay in there. So the only things you have to do is you have to move this little crankcase vent out of the way, and then you loosen this bolt here for the intake going to the airbox, and then on the other side here is another bolt, looks just like this, a little bit smaller in diameter, to loosen up that side so that you can actually twist and turn the carburetor. So I'm going to shut the fuel off. Oh, I did shut the fuel off. Good. So the fuel is off. What you can do if you don't want to get fuel all over you is you can open this drain here and drain the fuel that's in the float bowl out of the carb. This way, when we turn it and undo the float bowl, you won't get gas all over the motor and all over your hands. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so I'm just draining this gas out now. Just having it go into this little spray paint cup. I've actually done a video on this when I first started my channel, and I just never really followed up from it. So this will be kind of like a part 2 to that video. I just made like a video of how to take the carb off the easiest way. This is exactly how I always do it, how I've been doing it. So, but to actually be able to pull the carb off and show you guys the jets and go over that, that'll be it'll be nice to have that too. So we'll let that drain. Should fill up that cap, and then once it's done draining out, then we'll spin the carb sideways and we'll start pulling off the float bowl. All right, so after we get done, just want to say you want to make sure that you tighten this, because you turn the fuel on, you'll start leaking gas everywhere. You don't want that. So, all right, let's get that out of here. Now we can turn the carb sideways, like so. It's a little tough, but it'll work. Hopefully it'll clear up here. This has got the brake reservoir up top, so I have to move that out of the way a little bit. All right, we need 2 hands for this. All right, so now as we can see, a little bit of force, but got the carb turned sideways, so now we can easily access all 4 screws for the float bowl. You can see it's got a power shot accelerator pump. So what this does is just puts more fuel into the accelerator pump bowl, so that when you stab the throttle, you just get more fuel that squirts into the carb, so you don't get that bog, that throttle lag, so which definitely plagues these bikes. They're really boggy and laggy stock, and if you start modding them, forget it, it makes it even worse. And then this you could actually tune. So basically, once you put a bigger pilot in it, if it still won't idle right, or if you're trying to get a little bit more fuel, a little bit less fuel out of it, you could actually adjust this in for less fuel and adjust it out for more fuel. And then you can really get your idle dialed in and up to a 1/4 throttle. All right, so we got the carb bowl off, and looks okay. I mean, not terrible. Not the cleanest thing I've ever seen, but can't really see what size main this is. Oh, I see some numbers over there. I'm gonna have to pull it out to really get a good look at it, but one of these is the pilot jet. Another one is just like another slow jet or something. So I think this one is the pilot, and that's like the other slow jet. I'm not really sure what that's called. I used to know what it was called, but I forgot, honestly. But we get the main jet pulled out, get the pilot jet pulled out, and just see what size they are. All right, so we got the pilot out, and it looks like it's newer. It's not like OEM. There's no numbers on it, so that kind of stinks, because we don't know, what size it is. But typically, unless this has got a built motor, which it could, maybe it's got a set of cams or something in it, I don't know. But typically, it doesn't really matter on the pilot. Usually a 48, and it'll start idle and run with no problem. So, which it does, up until a certain point. But then, if it's too lean on the main side, or like even if the needle, there's a needle up top that we're gonna pull out as well. Hopefully I can do that without pulling the whole carb, but we'll see. The needle too will control the fuel mixture at mid throttle. This is more for like starting and 1/4 throttle. Anything past 1/4 throttle would be the needle, and then anything past half throttle on into 3/4 to full throttle will be the main jet. So that's what pretty much controls how much fuel is at what level of throttle. So if the bike won't start, or runs real crappy on idle, unless you choke it, then it's probably lean. Probably means you need a bigger pilot. If it's got like a hesitation at half throttle, more than likely it's the needle. And if like full throttle or above that, if it's real lean, that's usually you got too small of a main. So let's pull this main jet out and let's see what's in here. All right, so I'm gonna use a pair of pliers here. You can use a wrench too if you want, but just to break it free, and then you can use your fingers. Just be careful you don't drop anything in here. I usually put like something in there to stop anything, because these jets can fall right in there and you gotta pull the side cover to get it out. But let's see what we got here. Oh, there's the needle too. All right, let's see. What size main jet is this? This is a 178. So that's pretty large. It seems okay. It's not horrible. So I would usually run like in my bikes my YFZs before, that had like just full exhaust and no airbox lid with a foam filter. I'd run like 168s. But this is in a situation where we're too rich. This is we're too lean. So or that actually might be a little bit too big. That's why we're popping on decel. So we're gonna have to dig in a little deeper here. All right, so I've got a 50 Pilot here. Stock is 42. This is a pretty big jump, but this bike also has got, you know, from what I can tell, a lot of work. It's fast, so I think there's more work done to it than, you know, than I know. I think there's some internal motor work, so we'll throw a 50 in there. This way I at least know what size is in there, and we can kind of work it from there. The good thing about that is that I can literally just put this back together, you know, turn the carb down, fire the bike up, and I can see how it's affected immediately. So let's, I do want to check out where the needle's set at, because if that is set, you know, too high, then we might have to drop it down a couple clips to richen up the mixture a little bit. So let's check that out before we start putting this thing back together. All right, guys, so I'm basically going to be having to take the carburetor out of the bike entirely, but in order to do that, you have to pull this side cover off on the side of the carburetor. It's just two little Allen head bolts. And then you can see too, the zip tie mod's already been done on this, so they pretty much just take that little arm right there and that little screw, and they zip tie them to get together. So what it does is that creates less delay between when the accelerator pump shoots the fuel into the motor when you stab the throttle real fast. Typically without that mod done, there's like a delay between when the arm moves and when the spring actually comes back, and it's just, it creates a bog from the factory. So that is how you would do the zip tie mod. So typically you have to loosen up this throttle cable, which I've already done, and then we're just gonna pop it out here, pull the cable around, and then just that little piece has to come out. It's a pain trying to do with one hand. I'm gonna try to do it with two hands real fast. All right, yes, that was much easier with two hands. So now we can pull the carb out the other side, and then we can get that top cover off and see what the needle is set at. All right, guys, so we just pulled the carb out the side here. You have to push this hose up from here. You pretty much use a screwdriver, just grab onto it with your fingers and pull it up out of the way, and the carb will come right out. And this is where the slide is for the needle. So we gotta pull these two bolts out, and then we should be able to get the slide out. All right, so we got that cover off. So what we have to do now is, looks like somebody's already been in here with a screwdriver, just chewed up the screw. So somebody's adjusted this at some point, but who knows where it's at. Really, the stock needle is not the best. When you really want to get into precisely tuning these, it's called an NCVQ needle, and that's really a lot better for fine tuning the mid-range of this bike. So regardless, let's pull this out and see where it's set at. All right, so this is, every time I pull one of these apart, there's always one wheel that falls off. So I think it's always the top one too. It's so funny. Just keep an eye on where the orientation of this is, because I've seen people flip these around and the bike not run right, not let enough air through. This little notch down here has to match up with the bottom. So if you flip this around, it'll be backwards. So just keep in mind of how that goes, because this does come off. And you just want to inspect the O-ring on there. And the O-ring looks good, doesn't look chewed up or anything. So that's good. You'll get issues with that too. So yeah, let's go ahead and pull this needle out now and see where it's set at. It's just going to be that little hex up there. All right, so this is a problem. I don't think this is the right needle, because even the factory ones have notches. They have, I think, like 6 notches on them. This has just got 1. So there's no adjustability here. I don't know if I have another needle. I'm gonna have to check it out, but yeah, typically the higher, like if these had the 6 notches, the higher you bring this clip, the leaner you make it. The lower you bring the clip, raise the needle up, makes it run richer. So typically I think like the 4th or 5th clip is where you want this to be on, or the 4th or 5th notch is where you want the clip to be on. This isn't even adjustable. So I think this is part of why we're having issues with it running so lean. This should be adjustable. So let me see if I have one of these needles laying around, and we'll go from there. Right, guys, so as you can see, this is, I believe, a stock YFZ needle. And this is the one that we pulled out. And you can see little notches in there. So you can see, if we line them up, this is really only on like the 3rd clip. And for a bike that needs so much fuel, it's really not where it needs to be. It's like in between the 3rd and the 4th clip there. Maybe a little bit lower, but like on the 4th clip. And it really should be on the 5th or the 6th. So I think this is why we're having issues. So I'm actually gonna put the other jets back in it that were in it already. See how it runs, and then actually I might put the Pilot back in, because we don't even know what the hell size it is. I'll put the bigger Pilot in, see how it runs, put the new needle back in. I also have an airbox lid on it too, so We'll see how it runs with and without the airbox lid, if that helps at all from it being so lean. But let's throw this needle back in. This clip should go right on, and we'll put it back together and see how it runs. All right, guys, so we got it all back together. So it seems to be a little bit better with that new needle and the 50 Pilot. So, but it's definitely way too rich up top. It's shooting flames out the exhaust. That 178 is just way too, come on, man. That 178 is just way too big. So probably gonna have to drop that down, but I'll give you guys an idea. So it starts up good. I put the airbox lid on now until we get the filter, because that's gonna make it really, really super lean, but you can rev it up. Much better, but yeah, you can hear it popping, shooting flames. Way too lean, or way too rich up top, but no choke, runs a lot better. So let's just go ahead and I'm gonna pull it apart one more time and probably put like a 170 or maybe like a 168 main in there, and we'll see how that runs with that jet in there. So also, fun fact about these, if you want to swap out the main, you don't have to take the whole float bowl and everything off. You can literally just pull that cap off, which is what I'm going to do, and that's how I'll swap the main out. All right, guys, you can see we got the plug out. We got the 168 ready to go in there. So this should solve our backfiring and popping and spitting issue. So let's go ahead and throw this in there. We'll fire it up, see how she runs. All right, guys, so that definitely cleaned it up a lot. Started right up real easy. Still popping and spitting. Might have an exhaust leak somewhere, letting air in, but definitely a lot better from where we started. Just needs an air filter now. I think it'll be perfect. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I did take it for a ride because I wanted to see how the bike handled, you know, all the changes under a load. Ran flawless until you really hold wide open throttle for a long period of time. It just seems like it kind of has like a hesitation, starts to buck a little bit at high RPMs. So I'm gonna first get an air filter, because I don't want to keep doing a lot of fine tuning until I get an air filter in the bike, because it's going to be lean, you know, all the time. So once I get an air filter in it, I'll pull the airbox lid back off, see how it rides. If it's still doing the same thing up top, then I'll have to put possibly a bigger main jet back in it. But it's just going to take some fine tuning just to get it 100%, but already much better than when we first brought the bike home. So definitely excited to you know, get it to me, you know, 100%, and we'll keep working on it. So thanks for watching. If you guys like the content, please, you know, as always, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.